So my brothers and my sisters, as we embrace this urgency of creating the beloved community, now is the time to be loved. Love means understanding redemptive goodwill toward all which seeks nothing in return. So be loved by implementing the demands of justice to eliminate the school to prison pipeline that has so many black children entrapped. Be loved by correcting voting policies that seek to suppress the votes of millions of black and brown people. Be loved and implement the demands of justice by transforming a society that is disproportionately violent toward black lives, including black transgendered lives and indigenous lives. Be loved and correct false narratives and economic policies that continue to divide and pit poor and working class black and white people against each other. Be loved and implement demands of justice where systems and structures are deconstructed and lead the way of living in community that reimagines just, humane, equitable, and sustainable policies, practices, and behaviors. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them who hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use you and abuse you. Be loved and do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with our God.
Students with King serves as the King Center's flagship engagement platform for elementary, middle, and high school students, highlighting the legacies of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mrs. Coretta Scott King, and the impact of the 20th century American Civil Rights Movement. Our dynamic and interactive programming has reached over 1 million students worldwide. Our core learning programs introduce students to the philosophy of Kingian nonviolence, coined Nonviolence 365, and provide important lessons about how they can apply nonviolence in their immediate environments. Whether you're an educator who is looking for ways to bring the King legacy into your classroom, a student who wants to learn more about this powerful moral movement, or a parent who wants to get your child involved in character building and literacy development activities, Students with King is your one-stop shop for unique lesson plans, teaching resources, educational field trips, and other opportunities to engage with the history of the American Civil Rights Movement and its powerful leaders. We look forward to engaging with you and your students. Together we can build the next generation of compassionate, courageous, and conscientious leaders.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Students with King Reading Corner. I'm your moderator, Tyreek Wynn. Guys, we are back. It is another school year. I'm so excited. Man, Students with King is an amazing program. We have impacted millions of people, millions of students, and millions of classrooms across the country. And we are back to continue to do the good work and impact more people. Of course, y'all already know how we do on Students with King Reading Corner. We want you guys to comment where y'all are tuning in from, your city, your state, your classroom, whatever the case may be. We got Pia Smith saying good morning from Avondale Elementary School, 4th grade. Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Clark's class. Appreciate y'all. Good morning. Appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. Guys, make sure you comment where you're tuning in from, city, state, classroom, all that good stuff, your school as well. Also, we are going to, of course, we're going to have our author. And then once the book reading is finished, you guys will have a chance to comment your questions. So while the book is being read, go ahead and get those questions together. That way you can put those in the comments and we'll try to get to them as many as possible. We got Scholars Academy in here. K through 8 virtual learners. Appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate that. Also, we have our amazing author who is going to be joining us. She is no stranger to Students with King Reading Corner. It is Miss Sedara Burson, who will be reading her book, Nurturing Nasir and His Power to Share. We appreciate you so much for joining us once again on Students with King Reading Corner. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm so excited to be here. So I can't wait.
Awesome. Yes, we appreciate you so much for coming on once again. Oh, also, we got Flat Shows Elementary in Decatur, Georgia. Miss Temple's class, Mrs. Park's class, Scholars Academy. Appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. But yeah, so you're going to be reading your book, Nurturing Nasir. Very excited to hear about this book. So let's go ahead and get into the reading.
I'm ready. Nurturing Nasir and His Power to Share. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Nasir who loved being generous. He would share with his family. He would share with his friends. He would share with his neighbors. It made him feel good to give to others. He never thought about if others shared with him. It didn't matter. One day, Nasir forgot his lunch at home. He asked his friend if she would share her lunch with him, but she said no. Nasir felt confused because he always shared with others and he had often shared with her. He didn't understand why she would not share with him. Later that day, Nasir went home and talked with his father about what happened. His father said, "Son, people don't always do what you expect them to do. They may not like to share the way you do." Nasir thought about this and still felt confused. He asked his dad, "Does this mean I shouldn't share with her anymore? Should I stop sharing with people?" His dad said, "Son, what does her decision have to do with your decision? You never shared because others shared with you before. You shared because you wanted to." Nasir said, "You're right. It makes me feel good to give to others. I shouldn't stop being myself because someone did something different than I." His dad said, "When I was little, my mom told me about the golden rule, which was to treat others how you want to be treated. I encourage you to take it one step further." Nasir asked, "How do I do that?" His dad said, "Well, it's kind of hard, but you should try to treat people how you want to be treated despite how they treat you." Nasir asked, "Well, what do you call that rule?" His dad said, "I call it the platinum rule." The next day, Nasir went to school and sat next to his schoolmate who wouldn't share, as he always does. His mom packed him his favorite snacks that his friend loves too. He offered her one of his snacks, and she looked surprised after how she treated him the day before. Nasir still felt good about sharing. He talked to her about what happened, and she apologized for not sharing. She explained that sometimes lunch is the last meal she gets before she goes home. It never occurred to him why she didn't share before. He felt sad to hear her situation and yet happy that he understood her a little more. Nasir decided in that moment that he will continue to do what feels good and not let what other people do change who he is. Nasir told his dad all about his day when he got home. He told his dad, "It's important that I do what's right. Doing what others do can take me away from being me." Nasir said, "I think I understand, Dad. No matter what others do or why, keep true to myself." And that is the end. I hope you all enjoyed that book as much as I did reading it to you all. I'm excited to hear whatever questions have come up. Tariq, you're on mute.
My apologies.
No problem.
Yeah, but what I do want to say, one thing I forgot to mention before, there is a QR code at the top of your screen. Make sure you guys fill that out. That helps us improve here at Students with King Reading Corner. What I do want to say, that was fantastic. I feel like there's a lot of messages within this book, you know, and I
Mhm,
think one thing, like when we're in school, I remember when I was in grade school, one of the number one rule that we learned was the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. Like, you know, that's a rule that's on every teacher's board and every teacher's classroom and stuff. And so that's very important. But what I also really like is, I think that a lot of times, you know, when we're moving throughout our day and even when we're at school, we don't necessarily know what the person next to us is going through. You know, you never really
mhm,
know what situations they might be facing at home and stuff. And so
mhm.
that's why you always treat others with kindness and all that good stuff. So that was definitely a good read. It had a lot of good lessons in it for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, it is important to make sure that we have an opportunity to think about other people
Yeah,
and also understand that we don't have to change or alter who we are because of other people.
yeah, for sure, most definitely. And then I just want to remind you guys, those of you guys who are tuning in, make sure you comment your questions in the comments section. Try to get to them as many as we can. Comment your questions for the author, and yeah, or in regards to the book and all that good stuff. So what I do want to start with is, how did you, with this certain idea, this certain messaging for this book, how did you come up with this? Was this something that you saw when you were in school, or was this something that, you know, you went through personally, or somebody else that you know went through personally?
Well, I was the oldest of four, so I always had to share, and I didn't always like it.
Mhm.
But I think it's important that we learn, just that there is the spirit of abundance. So there's enough for everybody in everything we do. And I think as a counselor, it's been important to make sure other people understand that, because I think it interferes when we think there's not enough or we think about scarcity. We treat each other in a different way than when we think we have enough. And so I just thought it was a really good message, and especially being connected to the Be Love movement and the King's legacy, understanding that people need to be in the spirit of abundance and knowing that there's enough for everybody. It changes how we engage with one another instantly when you have that mindset.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And then we have something. It says Antonio made a connection while reading. He said that he is similar to Nasir. Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
Yes, I
hey,
always say
Antonio.
sharing is caring. So Then Shamika Parker says, why was it the student's last meal before getting home? That's a great question.
Yeah, so for this young lady, we don't know why, but for whatever reason, there wasn't another meal waiting for her at home. It could be maybe parents weren't there to cook it. Maybe there wasn't enough food in the home. And but we don't always think about people's situations. And so she was really adamant about having her lunch because she didn't know if there was going to be something more at home.
Got it. And then Pia Smith, the students said they like that the characters in the book look like them.
Oh, that's so sweet. And that's important. I know too, having books that represent everybody, that wasn't always something that I had access to when I was a child. So it is good for people to see themselves in these stories. That was very important.
Yeah, for sure. I like that you did that too. It was fantastic. Great illustrations too. Whoever did the illustrations for you, they looked it really good.
Abira Das, definitely want to give
Okay.
a shout out to her. She has done all the illustrations for all the books that I have. So I'm excited for her.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I love that. She does some great work. And then this question says, great story. We are learning about the theme and love the theme of this story. The question is, how did you come up with the pictures for the book? Oh, we just talking about that.
Yes, so Abira, she is gifted. If I send her my story, she will come up with ideas of how that could be illustrated, and we negotiate and talk about it. But she has that skill, so I really appreciate her for her talents. So
Awesome. Fantastic. Zephron Willis. I love the message and power of the platinum rule. Such an important lesson in life, abundance.
thank you, Zephon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that rule, man, I tell you, that rule is just like, and just it's not even like a school rule. It's kind of it's an everyday rule. When we're moving throughout life, even of course we learn the rule when we're in school, but I mean, once you leave the school building, I mean that's something that you should just operate in life, period. Because I think I think a lot of times, sometimes where sometimes we may forget that rule in certain situations, but you always, hey, listen, you always got to treat people the way you want to be treated, no matter what the situation is. So a
Absolutely.
great central message. This question we got here: how would you recommend teachers can use a story like this in school? That's a fantastic question.
Yes, thank you, Kilolo, for your question. I think teachers can benefit from having these conversations at the onset, as you're setting up the environment for your classroom and you're getting them in the space and the spirit of how you want them to interact. You set your rules for the year, that we want to make sure that we are thinking of other people. So we want to think about our classmates and think about how we can share with them, how we can be mindful of that other people might be going through something. And so let's not just look at what they do and take it at face value, have a little empathy. So there are opportunities to really support teachers in the classroom with having this discussion with their students and setting the tone for how they treat one another in the classroom. So
Fantastic.
like the be love movement, like be
Mhm.
love, do
Yeah.
the things, be actionable in how you engage with people, or show love in an actionable way.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Most definitely. Yeah, great message there. And thank you guys, the audience. Appreciate all your questions. You guys are comments on great questions. Keep the questions coming. Like I said, we'll try to get to as many as we can. But yeah, definitely keep the questions coming. One person said, what advice do you have for young writers?
Oh, okay. So I think one, it's important because there were two questions about life experience and
Mhm.
what advice you would give to young writers. I think that if there's something that was really powerful for you and something that you learned or liked or enjoyed or anything like that, you can journal about those things. Write down the things that you're learning. And at some point down the road, you'll have an opportunity to maybe create your own books and write down things that you feel like other people could learn from. So if you learn from, it could be a similar message, but maybe you experienced it or learned about it in a new way, and it will teach someone else who might learn the way you do. So I would encourage you all to write your feelings down, write down what you're thinking, and share it with other people in the form of writing.
Great. I love that. Mary says, watching from St. Louis. Oh, she missed the reading. Oh, Mary.
Oh,
Well, Mary, what you can do is once the live stream is over, you can go back, you can rewatch, and then you can, because yeah, you guys, and that goes for everybody. Once the live stream ends, you guys can always go back and rewatch the episode. It will live on the King Center page, and you guys can just go back and rewatch and all that good stuff. And all that good stuff. So, Sharon Leal, this opened a great conversation amongst my scholars about how sharing and giving we are with each other. Thank you.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think having a discussion, sometimes we do things automatically and we don't take the time to sort of analyze and look at what we're doing, so that people actually can connect the message with how we go about doing something. So we can always say, "Oh, share," but what does that mean and what does that look like and how do we model that? So having those conversations are, extremely helpful for young scholars to learn that.
Yeah, most definitely. And then Scholars Academy for the Gifted and Artistically Elite. Oh, I love
I
that title
like
for
that,
that school. I know, right?
artistically elite.
That's awesome. Says we love the book and the moral of it. That's awesome. Fantastic. And then we got another question. How long did it take you to write this story?
So with all the stories, sometimes writing the story is it doesn't take as long, but once you spend time trying to make sure the words convey what you wanted to say and that it'll reach the audience and the age group of the people that you think are going to read it, that's probably what takes a little longer. And then sometimes you get an illustration and it makes you want to rethink how you want to say something. So all in all, it would take, maybe 6 months to kind of finalize everything.
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy. Like you mentioned that like with various books, it can be different time frames. And what one thing about writing is it's like sometimes it really doesn't matter how well it does matter how long it is, but it really just depends on like the content that's in the book and all that, and all that good stuff. And really depending on what you write about. Because sometimes like I've heard some people, it'll take them 5 years to produce a book. Other people,
Hmm.
I've heard people say they got a book done in a week. So yeah, so
Or an
yeah,
hour.
yeah, or an hour. Yeah, especially like with all the technology that we have now, it's crazy. How fast we can
Absolutely.
just crank out some content. So for
That's true.
sure. So we got another question. Can you talk more about the series of books that you have created and how they support emotional intelligence tools for children?
Thank you, Kilolo, for that opportunity. So there are a total of 6 books, and I've been so lucky to be able to do 3 of them with the King Center. I'm looking forward to do the other 3. The first book is named after my son, and it talks about how to manage your emotions. And then I have Naila, and it talks about her power to create, and so just the importance of understanding how to manifest your dreams. And then, of course, Nasir sharing. And then we have Elijah that talks about taking care of the earth and your surroundings and your environment. We have Giovanni, who talks about the power of communicating and sharing maybe hard feelings or expressing things to friends. And last but not least, we have Zealous Zora, who is teaching young people the importance of loving yourself. And so those 6 different concepts I thought were things that I would notice when I was working with adults in counseling and realizing these are things that if I had gotten an opportunity to learn this when I was younger and perfect and grow in that, having those nuggets, I can imagine what I would look like as an adult later in life. And so those are things that even though they were given to me, they weren't a part of the day to day conversation. And so if this could be a part of a social emotional learning curriculum at schools, or parents can use it to teach their kids different emotional maturity nuggets, there's an opportunity for them to have, wonderful, full, adult lives.
Yeah, and those are some those are some great messages there, like loving yourself, like that's awesome, because I think, I think a lot of times, sometimes in life, there may be times in life where we may struggle with that, loving ourselves. And I think that's really important. And then you also said something key earlier too. You said manifesting your dreams. That
Yes.
is so important. Like, when it comes to that, you got to claim it. Stuff that you want, you have to prophesy that, you have to speak it into existence. So that those are some really, really important key messages that you've put into a book. So definitely congrats and kudos to you on that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, guys, those of y'all who are just now tuning in, we got the survey up at the top of the screen. Make sure you guys fill that out. Really helps us out at the King Center, how it can help improve us here at Students with King Reading Corner. So definitely fill out the survey. We got another question. How long did it take you to come up with the names in the character? And very relatable. I use the name to teach my granddaughter messages conveyed.
Awesome. Well, actually, the names, they all came from the first book is named after my son, Masai, and then all of the other books are named after nieces and nephews. And so, again, as I mentioned, being little and not always having books that would reflect a variety of people, I thought it was good to have names that we might know and hear and say at home. So I'm hoping, there are little Nasirs and little Elijahs and Nailas in the world who get to see their name, in a book.
Awesome. So Nasir is your nephew, right?
Yes.
Got it. Okay,
Yes.
nice.
Yes.
That's awesome. Then we got another question. Thank you for writing this story. We love it. You spark creativity in our writers. That's fantastic. Look at you,
Thank
inspiring.
you.
Love that. Shamika wants to know, what would you add to the story if you could do a part 2?
That's a great question, Shamika. Hmm. Maybe just highlighting what it looks like if you're not in that space, and maybe how that changes the interactions. But I'm not 100% sure. I would have to really think about that just a little bit more. But if you guys have some ideas about what you would want to see in a part 2, I'd love that too. So put that in the chat if you want to share it. I'd love to hear some ideas that you all have.
Awesome. Fantastic. And Hannah Park from Scholars Academy, how do you think stories can have a lasting impact on young minds when it comes to important values like sharing? Great question.
Well, again, like I was hoping that we get these little seeds and nuggets as a young person, and that they have more time to sort of practice it, and more time to sort of understand it and embody some of these important values. Because I don't think it's something we learn right away, like, oh, yeah, you should share. But then there's different things that come up, different scenarios that make you feel like it's okay not to. So, figuring out how to navigate some of those difficult situations, it just gives them more time to practice it. So, if you don't get that until you're an adult, it's a little harder sometimes to shift. So I'm hoping little people getting to hear this and practice it along the way will allow them to get better at it and be better than I was and better than all the previous adults who didn't get that message when they were little.
Yeah, that's great stuff there. It's it's always about creating a lasting impact. And, because I feel like a story like this, and when you have a message like this, this lasts throughout life, and so this is
Mhm.
definitely creating a lasting impact for sure. Michael Burson, oh, that must be a relative. Says, so proud of our daughter. Oh, that's your dad. Okay.
Yes. Hi, Dad. Thank you.
Awesome. And then we got something here. Part 2, maybe what it might feel like with the girl whose last meal is her school lunch and the possible dynamics around this. That's a
Mm,
good idea.
thank you.
Yeah, for
Thank you,
sure.
Miss Oni.
And then Shamika Parker again, the student said, show what happens if Nasir didn't share with everyone, used to him sharing.
So if he stopped sharing with all the different people, how would
Yeah.
that impact them?
Okay. Yeah, we got,
Okay.
we got we got some ideas, and we got some
Thank you.
ideas here. And then Barbara Campbell, wonderful talk. Awesome. Thank you, Miss Barbara. We appreciate you so much for tuning in, watching. Then we got somebody watching from South Central Georgia. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Fantastic. Guys, also for those of you who maybe there are some of you watching who have children's books that are, awesome, inspirational and stuff, creating an impact out here. If you want to submit your book to be considered for Students with King Reading Corner, you can send an email to Mr. Donald Bullock. His email is dbullock@thekingcenter.com. thekingcenter.org. That's the letter D. BULLOCK@thekingcenter.org. And then that's how you guys can submit your books. If you want to be considered for Students with King Reading Corner, you can come on here. You can read your book. You can also be interviewed as well. And then you can take questions from the audience. And it's a really fantastic program. We've been doing it for years now. And it's really impacting students all across the world, not just the country, but the entire world, because we've had people tune in from all kinds of continents and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Ms. Sedara, we appreciate you so much for taking time to do your book reading with us and then also take some questions. Last but not least, can you just tell everybody where they can follow you and also where they can purchase the book so we can all support you?
Thank you so much. It's been a blessing to be here. Please make sure you guys do the survey with the QR code. And I think there's a link that they're sharing as well. We want to get your feedback. I want to hear feedback as well. You can get your books on my website, sedarabursonlpc.com. They're also available in stores, Walmart, Target, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, but it's always best to go to the source. So I appreciate direct orders at the website. What was the last thing, Tyreek, you
your
asked?
Social media, where they can follow you.
Oh, they can follow me at Sedara Burson on Instagram. And actually on Facebook, it's Master Messiah. It's basically under the first book, but that's where I do pretty much everything else, or Maya Counseling Services, LLC on Facebook. You can follow me there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This was a great, fantastic book reading. I think the students learned a whole lot. I learned a little bit myself, and I know everybody else who was watching learned as well. Like I said, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm pretty sure we'll see you again because you got so many books out, so much great content. So I'm sure that we will see you again on Students with King Reading Corner in the future. Guys, don't forget, once again, make sure you guys take time to fill out that survey up in the corner of your screen. That really helps us improve here at the Students with King Reading Corner. So please take time, scan this QR code with your cell phone, go ahead and take our survey. Like I said, it really helps us improve, and we are greatly, greatly appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this edition of Students with King Reading Corner. We'll have another episode coming next month in October that you guys will definitely want to tune in. We have an amazing guest prepared for that. I'm Tyreek Wynn. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to be your moderator. Thank you to the King Center. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys can follow me on social media as well, Tyreek Wynn, iHeartRadio. Also listen to me on all iHeartRadio platforms. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. See you guys next month.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bernice A. King.
And I'm Dr. Kimberly P. Johnson.
And we are the co-authors of
It Starts With Me. Well, it starts with me.
No, I think it really starts with me.
No.
Well, maybe it just starts with you.
It starts with you.
This is a book for children and the rest of the world about love. A powerful word that really can change and transform our world. Now, this girl here is Amora. So Amora is going to take us on a journey around the world with her friends, talking about how we can be loved.
Thank you so much for reading this book. It Starts With Me. Dr. King's vision is coming to life, and you guys are going to carry that vision into the world. Have fun reading.
We want our children and you parents to be loved in the way you speak, in the way you act, and in the way you think. That's what it starts with me about. It starts with me. I am the one who infects the world with love.